This is Norma, and Randy will be along later. We are two seniors who like to travel. Our most recent experience was going to Iceland and doing the self-drive tour around the island. We loved it, and this is partly a way of us recording our experiences and keeping them for ourselves, but it's also an idea of ours that we could share what we've done and what our tips are to make your trip a little bit easier and more successful. The footage that I'll be sharing with you is actual footage that I took out of the window of our car. So you will see the bugs and you will see the windshield wipers and the rain on the windows. But pictures give a really good idea of what it was like, but videos seem to do a little bit better of a job. The first video in this series will take us from Reykjavik to the Snæfellsnes Peninsula and across to the West Fjords. We went in June, so I can speak to that. We found that the weather was not too awful. We found that the tourists weren't too awful. And I got to see puffins, which was my top thing that I wanted to do when I was in Iceland. So the first video in this series will focus on the decisions that you need to make before you even leave. Iceland's a very small country and they're getting millions of visitors every year. It's one of the top tourist destinations right now. So you can't go on the fly quite as we're used to doing. You need to make a lot of your decisions before you go. There are many different ways to travel around Iceland. You can get a cruise that circumnavigates Iceland. You can get bus tours, you can get self-driving tours that are planned by a company, or you can do it yourself, which is of course the way we like to do things. The first thing we did was we looked at some of the existing tours, places that they stopped in, and then I sort of made a map of around the island of all the places that they stopped, and then I started picking places based on what we wanted to see. I also purchased a planning map. Now, I'm not recommending this one in particular over any other one, but what this did for me was it showed me where the different sites were. It showed me how many things were in one place so I could decide how long I wanted to be in one place. It gave me, on the trip itself, we would land in a place and I could get the map out and say, oh, look, we can go see this today. So I would really recommend doing those two things. Looking at other tours, getting yourself a planning map. Another thing that needs to be booked is your car. And there's lots of choice. And we're not exactly the richest people in the world, so we had to go with the smallest option. And we also got a standard transmission. And I think that was probably one of our mistakes that we made. I'll let Randy talk about the car because he was the one who did most of the driving.
The car was a delight. It was easy to get around in town. It was fantastic on fuel, which is going to save you a lot of money. Actually getting the standard saved us $400. I think that was a mistake. The roads in Iceland are very good. I mean, you do run into gravel and you run into challenges, but overall they're well maintained. The biggest thing is you do a lot of climbing up and down, and you get to quite an elevation. And when you go around these corners, they don't have railing. Now, some places do, but most often you don't have it. So you got a narrow road, you don't have railing, and you got a drop off of sometimes thousands of feet. So what I found was I think I missed out by being the designated driver, because I had to pay a lot of attention to the car. And as much as I enjoyed driving the old standard shift, because I grew up on that, it took away from my ability to really see the scenery as it's going by, because we're constantly going up hills, down hills, around corners, and through bridges. There's hundreds of these bridges where the road narrows to a single lane and you have to sort of time it with the oncoming traffic, or they wait or you wait, and things like that. So I think if I was to do this over again, I would like the same car. The car was fine. I would get an automatic, and I think that would have made it a little bit easier.
It would have also given me an opportunity to drive, because I couldn't drive a standard, and you never got a chance to have a passenger experience, which was a little bit different than what I got to experience. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, because there was some scenery there. I'd be glancing over your way and it's just like, it's stunning. And of course, you know, you keep your eye on the road or you just die, you know.
And another thing that Randy brought to the table was a lot of experience in driving on gravel roads. So if you don't have that kind of experience, you might be more comfortable in a vehicle with more clearance. But he was able to avoid those potholes, and we got out of there without a broken car. So that's something to think about. We had to decide what luggage we were going to take. And there are lots of videos online that help me choose, and I will be going over the things that I took and the things that worked for us in the next video. But we decided to go with a small carry-on bag and a small backpack, and that was plenty. One of the things that I regretted was not being able to take walking poles, because I think that would have really helped me and my bad knees. But for the most part, we had no problem going with a carry-on bag. One thing to notice is that Iceland Air does have different specifications than a lot of the other airlines. Their dimensions are a bit smaller, so that's something you've got to watch out for. We also had to look around and start booking hotels. There's no way that you can do it on the fly. I was looking online as we were traveling around, and I noticed, oh yeah, I could have got a deal today, but then the next day it would have cost me 3 times as much to get a hotel in the same place. So booking hotels in advance is really, really crucial. It does limit you in lots of ways. You think, oh, I want to stay here for an extra day, and you can't, but you know, there's so much to see that we never felt that we were in a place that we didn't want to be in at any time. I think we made pretty good choices on where to go.
Oh, look at him go.
I am looking at them go.
Like a bunch.
As for the hotels, there's lots of choices, lots of variety. Don't be afraid of the guest houses. Don't be afraid of the shared bathrooms. Everything was sparkling clean, and we felt really comfortable everywhere we went. When we are talking about booking things in advance, that also applies to things like ferries and tours and modems. We also booked a modem in advance so that we could have that with us in the car. So you can get tours, like if you're booking just a couple of days in advance or a week in advance, but you're booked for a specific day in a specific town. And if there's something special that you want to see, you do not want to leave that to the last minute. Our sturdy steed sitting in the middle of the crater. So cool. We just drove right in. Randy was saying hi. Unbelievable. Booking online was super simple. Just went to the website of the places that I wanted to go. For example, the Mivat Nature Baths. I wanted to make sure I got in there. And I booked online and got a QR code and just took that with me. We also pre-booked this ferry, and that was a bit of an adventure because it did break down and we were stuck on it for about 5.5 hours, and that led to a brand new adventure of driving around to the West Fjords. But things don't always go as planned when you are on holiday. We were really fortunate with the weather that day, so at least that wasn't a challenge. Join us inside the car as we do some of this traveling down these roads.
All the way down there and go all the way back.
All the way down there and all the way back. Then we're on the inside, not on the outside of that turn. Well, this is the road we tried to avoid by going on the ferry.
Well, that'll happen sometimes. I mean,
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful road. the speed limit is 80. We're not going 80.
We're going 40.
We're going 40.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy to go 80 on this thing.
We're only terrified some of the time. The roads have been a bit sketchy, to say the least. But beautiful. We're up in the snow line here. So here we are at the top of the world on this highway that says it's 80. Highway 60.
80 is the number of people that died the last 2 months.
Oh yeah, we get to pass a big truck soon. Big van. It's exciting. They're doing 80.
Faster than I am.
Yeah. I don't give a shit.
Hey, we got a wave.
I was terrified. I had to put the camera down on my lap for a minute. Well, thanks for joining us today. That was the decisions that you need to make before you go to Iceland. Our next video will focus on the packing and the things that we brought with us, things that worked and things that we should have left behind. Speed went down to 60, and we're not doing that.
No.
We're doing the tourist speed of as slow as we can go. Bye for now, and we think if we can do it, you can do it too.